did to Zambia. The concerns raised by the US is coming at a time that Ghana is struggling to reach a deal with China on restructuring its debts. The delay has forced the IMF to postpone this board meeting on Ghana to approve the disbursement of some $600 million for Ghana on some 3 occasions last month. Joy Business understands that the IMF has scheduled a new board date for Ghana before the end of this year, with everything in place to disburse the funds. However, this will be dependent on getting that letter of comfort from the official creditor committee, which includes China, on time. But if all these concerns captured in this US report are anything to go by, then Ghana may be in for some tough times ahead when it comes to restructuring its debt owed China. Meanwhile, the Commission report shows that since the completion of the HIPIC program in 2004 by Ghana, we saw all its debts wiped. Ghana's fresh debt owed China has reached $31.1 billion.
All right, so let's bring in the geopolitical tension and, of course, the aspect of this discussion. Joining us to do that is political risk analyst and also economist Dr. Theo Champong for more. Thanks so much, Doc, for joining me on Business Live. First off, should we take this report by the US-China Economic Commission with a pinch of salt, or Ghana should be worried about this warning?
Should necessarily be worried. We've already had a very difficult economic situation the last 2 years. We've had the domestic debt exchange concluded, and now what is pending is the external debt restructuring, of which the bilateral debt restructuring is the most pressing thing now. That's even holding the $600 million of the second tranche from the IMF, coming. So issues of the debt buildup, debt accumulation, we've been aware of these for a while now. Of course, if you look at the numbers and the quantums, even that report, the numbers go all the way back to 2004. But if you actually look at the current debt composition of Ghana and the proportion that China has, it is nowhere near the figure that is reported in that report. China is still an important player. They are our single biggest bilateral partner on the debt front and then on the trading front. They are important, but the point I just wanted to clarify is that the debt numbers that you see in that report, that 31 billion, is vastly different from the current the total debt exposure of the government of Ghana to China.
And would you say that Ghana has been caught up in the geopolitical war, which will hurt our economy badly going forward? Would you add me to that assertion?
Yeah, geopolitics has always been a part of the game, and it's become a much bigger issue even now with Russia, Ukraine. We had a pandemic and all of that. And we've seen geopolitics also at play in the debt restructuring efforts that have been going on globally all over. So we've seen, for example, what's happened with Zambia recently, where they got a deal, and also with the commercial creditors. But some of the bilateral creditors say that what they're giving to the commercial creditors is more than what they got. In other words, the debt treatment is not the same. And we're seeing similar things being played out in other places. And in all of this, you cannot discount, like I said, the China factor, and then of course also the other Europeans in the game. Luckily, if you look at what is going on with the Ghana restructuring, you've got both China and France that are actually chairing our official creditor committee, and that indicate, at least to me, that there's some sort of consensus as to what to do on both ends. The difference comes down to the details on the amount that the government would get eventually on the debt restructuring from the haircuts, if any, and then the tenor and the duration. But traditionally, we've seen that China has always been hesitant in giving an outright haircut. You may get an extension in terms of the maturity or coupons and things like that. But this is something that we have known for a while now. So I don't personally think that it should come as a surprise to anyone.
And I'm wondering what more Ghana can do to get the Chinese government soften their stance.
Yeah, the Chinese always negotiate hard, and I think Ghana would have to come down a little bit on some of the things that we're also asking for. If you look at some of the recent market statements, we were pushing for what 30 to 40% or so haircut on the commercial side, and I suspect a similar thing with the bilateral creditors. We may have to come down a little bit. Zambia's one was around 18, 20%, and that probably could be a basis for a negotiation and concluding of the deal before the end of the year. Because the point really for me is that the more uncertainty that we have, the more this ends up, hurting the economy, especially as we get into early next year with the traditional pressures that you see on your exchange rate. So it would be good if this was concluded by the end of this year, and then going into next year, citizens, investors, everyone is pretty clear that the second tranche of the money from the IMF is coming, and then going forward, the whole structural reform and policy credibility agenda is still on course.
I don't know whether we have any plan B, but if indeed we do have, how should we execute that?
I am not aware of that. I'm not in the negotiations, but I mean, you wouldn't want the worst case outcome, which is that uncertainty now begins to lead to further speculation on the currency, and it even affects other macroeconomic variables. So I am pretty confident and sure, and I am aware that this would also be at the back of the minds of the people negotiating for Ghana, that there's an imperative to conclude this deal before the end of the year or early next year, because that gives, it's a positive market boosting signal or confidence.
We're indeed grateful, Dr. Theo Champong, for your time here on Business Live, sharing your perspectives with us on the matter. All right, let's see our longer issues that has to do with the economy, because the Bank of Ghana will start easing the policy rate from the beginning of next year. That's according to UK-based Fitch Solutions. Now, this, it believes, will ease interest rates and bolster the real estate sector, which has not been doing well. Speaking at a recent Sub-Saharan Africa update, it said the outlook of the Ghanaian economy is improving. Here is Mike Kuroninga, Senior Country Risk Analyst at Fitch Solutions.
The real estate sector has not been faring well in Ghana for a number of quarters now, which is not a surprise given the very sharp monetary tightening that we have seen by the Bank of Ghana. So our view is that the Bank of Ghana will most likely start cutting interest rates at the beginning of 2024. So that should eventually bode well for credit uptake and therefore mortgages as well. So that should improve the real estate sector, but it will take for this to filter through. So the real estate sector for most of 2024 will remain weak, but I think a more robust recovery will be seen in 2025 beyond that.
Some trade story we have for you. Trade and Industry Minister Katie Hammond has taken a swipe at critics against the legislative instrument to restrict the importation of selected items. This is coming after the suspension of the LI by the government. The trade minister described the move by the critics as surprising, saying the move will not create starvation among Ghanaians. He explained the policy was not to take undue advantage of businesses, but to build an economy to benefit local firms. He was speaking at the 12th AGI Industry and Quality Awards.
You guys are telling the whole world that Katie Hammond intends to create starvation in the country. I am very much conscious of the fact that we do not have enough production capacity in the country. Our store capacity is not enough. I did not intend to ban. I intended to restrict and in the process encourage local production. I don't think I was doing anything wrong. It would go through Parliament. The economy must be built. We cannot build an economy the way we are doing things. The structures will be put in place, all right. We started our 1D, 1F. We must go through with our import restrictions and local production initiatives. I'm not a thief. That's not the reason why I put this bill. It's not bad for anybody to benefit.
You're still watching Business Live. The quarterly UPSA Banking Roundtable comes off tomorrow. The virtual program is on the theme Toxic Assets, Bank Losses, and the Security of Deposits. Joining us on the phone is the coordinator of the event, Gertrude Na Amoko Ama. Good evening, Na, for joining me on Business Live. I'm wondering why the topic you've chosen, or the theme, I should say.
Hello, Pius. Good evening. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so like you rightly observed, the UPSA Quarterly Banking Roundtable has, for some years now, created a platform whereby we engage academia, members of the policy community, as well as industry players to dissect key issues affecting the banking industry in Ghana. And again, like you rightly observed, this quarter's discussion is on the topic toxic assets, bank losses, and the security of deposits. So the motivation or the rationale behind the choice of this topic stems from some reports that we had earlier on in the year of some banks recording huge losses. We have made it a point to take a look at the causes of these losses, particularly when it comes to the contribution that toxic assets has to bank failures or to the poor performance of banks in Ghana. Secondly, we also want to look at how safe the deposits are in the face of some of these recent trends and developments, hence the choice of the topic toxic assets, bank losses, and the security of deposits for this quarter's discussion.
Great background to that. And tell me, who are the speakers?
All right. Yes. So as always, we have put together a very great combination of speakers for this event. We'll be joined by the CEO of the Ghana Association of Banks, in the person of Mr. Johnny Wa. We are all very familiar with Mr. Wa. We'll also be joined by Mrs. Akofa Dankwa. She is the Chief Risk Officer at the Bank of Africa, as well as the Managing Director and the CEO of FBN Bank. This quarter's discussion is being sponsored by FBN Bank, so their Managing Director and CEO, Mr. Victor Yawasante, would also be joining us for the discussion tomorrow.
Great. And what should attendees look forward to?
I mean, as always, high-level structured discussions on these matters that I have just given a background to, the rising non-performing loans within the sector, the contribution or the impact of toxic assets to the sector, as well as other related issues. And especially, you can even look at how the domestic debt exchange program, again, that discussion continues to rage on. We haven't really let go of it, continues to affect the banking sector as we have it currently. So these are some of the things that our attendees tomorrow at the event should look forward to hearing. All
right. So quickly, in a minute, provide me with details on the venue, time, and of course, how one can join.
Right. Thank you, Pius. So the event is happening tomorrow, Thursday, 14th December, 2023 at 3 p.m. It's happening on UPSA campus. That's at the west wing of the Kofi Ohene Kunedu Auditorium. We are also going to provide some links through which people can join virtually. So you have to follow the social media platforms of the UPSA Law School on Facebook, on Twitter, as well as our website. But alternatively, you can walk into the west wing of the Kofi Ohene Kunedu Auditorium on UPSA campus tomorrow to join the discussion.
Very well. Thank you so much, Na, for your time here on Business Life. And of course, we shall keep an eye on that and of course, bring you updates in our subsequent bulletins. You're still watching Business Life. We are pausing. Right after the break, we'll bring you the Joy Business Van. Hello, welcome back. Our players in the Bitcoin ecosystem have outlined some benefits of the platform to the growth of many African economies. One major benefit is its ability to assist in humanitarian activities across developing countries on the continent. Here's more.
Speaking at the Day 3 of the African Bitcoin Conference in Accra, lead advisor of digital marketing and innovation at Save the Children, Ettore Rossetti, highlighted how the organization made use of Bitcoin to embark on humanitarian activities.
That is the legacy and history of our founder, Eglantine Jeb, and Save the Children. We also demonstrated her pioneering spirit by being the very first INGO to accept a Bitcoin donation 10 years ago in 2013. And the story was this: on the eve of the American Thanksgiving holiday, I got a phone call, and it was a Bitcoin donor. And she said, I want to donate, and our community wants to donate Bitcoin to Save the Children. Do you accept Bitcoin? And I said, let me get back to you in a couple of hours. So I ran to our legal department. I mean, that's sort of figurative, but I did walk briskly, and I said, is Bitcoin legal in the US?
We shall be bringing you more on this story in our subsequent bulletins, particularly Prime Business. And that's it for Business Live for today. I am Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.